Former SABC Interim Board members who were involved in the procurement and awarding of 185 million rand security tender could face legal action. The Special Investigating Unit has found evidence of serious irregularities in the awarding of the tender to Mafoko Security 2 years ago.
The contract was awarded to Mafoko Security by the Interim Board in 2017. This is allegedly despite Mafoko being ranked second in a bidding process. Mjayeli is reported to have been a bidder scoring high in pricing, but the board overruled its own supply chain processes and awarded the contract to Mafoko. The SIU has now finalized its report into the investigation and has found wrongdoing on the part of the Interim Board. It says the Interim Board failed to act in the best interest of the SABC. The board erred in the procurement and awarding of the 185 million rand tender to Mafoko. It found that the bid evaluation committee was irregularly constituted, there was financial misconduct, and that the board contravened the Public Finance Management Act. Officials of the SABC who were present when the board awarded the contract to Mafoko have also been found to have contravened the PFMA. The SIU has succeeded in joining in bringing an application to be joined in the current court proceedings between Mjayeli and the SABC as a respondent party. It seeks an order to set aside the contract between Mafoko and SABC and to have the tender sent for reconsideration by the SABC. SIU is, however, opposed to the application by Mjayeli to have the contract awarded to them. SIU now seeks the court to make a just and equitable order in an effort to recover the monies that have been lost due to the irregular contract. The SIU has also referred a criminal case to the National Prosecuting Authority against the members of the Interim Board. The implicated members are Kanyisile Kweyama, Matata Tsedu, John Mattison, Krish Naidu, Fipi Potreter Kobule, Tsiliso Raditabo, Pesi Tukwana, and Tabile Dlamini. SIU says Dlamini, who was acting chief financial officer and was present when the Interim Board awarded the contract, should be disciplined for contravening the PFMA and SABC policies. It also wants the Interim Board members declared delinquent once civil proceedings are finalized. The SIU says this is due to their breach of their fiduciary duties by negligently causing harm to the SABC and failing to act in the best interest of the public broadcaster. Mjayeli said it would not take part in any interviews but released a statement saying the matter is pending at the High Court. Mjayeli lawyer Nina Buotha says the matter is being delayed as the SABC is refusing to release the record of decisions taken and the reasons in awarding the tender to Mafoko. Gloria Sefako-Musi, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Now, in a statement, SABC Board Chairperson Bongomuso Makatini says the board will support the application by the SIU to have the contract between the SABC and Mafoko security patrols reviewed and set aside. He said the SABC is in the process of preparing the court papers in this regard and will not comment further. Now, we are still trying to get hold of some of the former individual interim board members, and as soon as we do, we'll bring that to you. Meanwhile, the lawyer representing former SABC Interim Board members, Tebogo Malatji, says his clients believe the Special Investigating Unit report detailing serious irregularities in the SABC's awarding of a tender is fundamentally flawed. Malatji says his clients will apply for a review and setting aside of the report.
What we've noted from the report, and which is important and not reported upon, is that allegations of corruption or wrongdoing in that sense against the chairperson of the then interim board and Mr. Matata Tsedu and Ms. Kweyama have been dismissed by the SIU as having no basis whatsoever. So what are we dealing with really? We're dealing with a situation where very outstanding citizens were asked to come and do a very difficult job, which is to clean up the SABC after the mess it went through, pursuant to the public protector's report and the ad hoc portfolio committee report. They've uncovered and actually saved the SABC 500 million in irregular contracts. So for them to be the subject matter of a so-called irregular procurement, A and B, criminal conduct, and C, delinquency, it comes as a shock to them. These are outstanding citizens, and to our mind, the report has unfairly come to the conclusions that it has.
What do you think would be the motive to be putting the former interim board chairperson, Kenyisi Lugoyame, and other board members in this negative light from this report? What would
I don't think there
be?
is a motive. I don't think there is a motive. When you read the report, it's very thin. It's 13 pages. The final report is 13 pages. It deals with a substantial matter relating to a procurement process that has a very long history. And to our mind, it should have entertained a lot more attention and detail. And we've submitted, you'll remember in October, November last year, quite extensively what we believe are the issues pertaining to the procurement process. So I don't think there are any ill motives or anything of sorts. We just think it is fundamentally flawed.
So do your clients still stand by their decision to award the tender to Mafoko, as they did in December last year, when they stood by their decision and they defended it, saying it was based on legal advice and that it was based on facts?
If you do a compare and merge, if you could, of that interim report and this final report, there's no difference. It's as if we haven't made any submissions. So yes, they still stand by their position as articulated towards the end of last year. And it is simply this, faced with what they were faced with at the time, and as part of the corruption busting team, if I can call it that, they had an indication that the so-called successful bidder, the scoring had been, interfered with. The so-called successful bidder had failed at 2 previous occasions to make it, even to the extent of making, submitting mandatory documents required. And all of a sudden, for this particular bidder to become a successful bidder, required of them to exercise their fiduciary duties, to actually drill into the procurement process from evaluation through to adjudication, and they were the decision makers, and they had to make the decision that they did, which was that they cannot in good conscience go with number 1 as recommended because of all of these irregularities that they had picked up.
And the recommendation, based on this report, to say that the interim board should be declared delinquent, how does that affect your client's credibility? Because you do know that other members of the former SABC Interim Board have gone on to serve on other boards.
Well, that's the saddest part. If anybody looked at the particular provisions of the Companies Act, it requires certain requirements to be met, before you can actually bring that type of an application. We contend none of those exist. For instance, you must have derived a personal benefit, You must have acted in contrary to the interest of the company in question. And so the list goes. Now, if you look at their track record at the SABC, it is quite the contrary. Now, to suggest that even if the SIU is correct, to suggest that this interim board was delinquent is challenging for us.
But what would it mean if this
mind-boggling,
SIU
if I
report
can use
is
recent
correct?
language.
What would it mean if this SIU report is in fact correct and is presenting facts? Well, would it mean that the board is not delinquent, that they did not act in bad faith and did not, go against what was best for the corporation at the time?
Think of it this way. At worst, for my clients, they were wrong in accepting the advice that they did at that board meeting. That advice included legal and supply chain management of the SABC, right? At worst for them, they accepted bad advice. How can that possibly constitute delinquent conduct? Because delinquency means you've acted in grossly negligent way, you have appropriated personal benefit to yourself, and I've already said the report of the SIU clearly indicates there's no corrupt element here that's at play.
Now, Mafoko Security has distanced itself from any wrongdoing after the Special Investigating Unit found evidence of serious irregularities in the SABC's awarding of a tender to the firm 2 years ago. Earlier on Morning Live, Mafoko Security Director General Lebo Nare said the firm was not involved in the procurement processes by the public broadcaster.
I think it's very unfortunate, considering that we have also seen this now leaked report, and it does not implicate us in any wrongdoing, and it's therefore very unfortunate that we should be on the receiving end for something that we were not responsible for.
Okay, in as much as you're saying that you're not implicated in any wrongdoing, but then the contract was awarded to, the report says that your company was not the best bidder, but you were awarded the contract in any case. So your reaction?
Look, we are not involved in the procurement processes of the SABC. We are not so clued up as to how they come up with the conclusion of the winning bidder. That process is an internal process that is conducted by yourselves at the SABC in the procurement processes. So we are not involved in that, and we are not clued up. We only receive an appointment letter, and we come and render the qualitative security services here at the SABC.
So if it is indeed set aside, what would your next move be?
I think the first thing is, before commenting on the merits of the case, is that we must make it clear that this is a matter that is before the courts, and it's a matter that is sub judice, and we should give the law a process to run so that we can not preempt and say what if it is set aside. If they are going to say they want to set it aside, we have a legal process that is underway already, where we are hoping that we are going to challenge that setting aside of our contract.
Did you have any communication with the former SABC Interim Board members?
No, we did not.
I mean, the two board members, Besi Tugwana, and who was the acting COO and the acting CFO, Tabile Dlamini, did not actually agree with the decision to sideline Mjayeli Security as the preferred bidder, and propose that if Mafoko Security was indeed awarded this particular contract, then Mabotwane, the third positioned security company, was supposed to have formed part of the discussion, towards the final determination of this. I mean, this it opens a window to so many underhanded dealings at the interim board. So the fact that the SIU is now calling for your contract to be set aside, I mean, how would you be able to take this case up on review?
Look, remember, we were not privy to some of the information that has now become apparent, to say a particular CEO or particular former employees of the SABC had made particular recommendations. That information became privy to us when it became public knowledge, and the journalists and the reporters started reporting it. Like we say, the matter is under sub judice, and there are processes. Look, I'm not a legal mind. We have a good legal team, and they will therefore advise us going forward.